As a screenwriter, I love telling stories about people who overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles, where you're wondering how these characters that you've come to care about could possibly make it to the other side. But as a parent, the last thing I want is for my newborn child to face those kind of impossible odds. That's where I found myself about 5 years ago. My son Oliver wasn't making eye contact and didn't seem to notice any of these very colorful toys that they make for children. So we took him to the pediatrician, and he told us that I was being a neurotic first-time parent, and to relax and just lower my expectations for a 3-month-old. Well, that didn't seem very satisfying. So we sought out a second opinion, Google, and my wife learned there was a suggestion to shine a flashlight in his eyes. And if he blinks, then at least you can rule out a visual impairment. So we walked into his room, and there he was in his crib, and little baby eyes open. So we shined this flashlight in his eyes, but he didn't blink. So one pediatrician and then a neuropediatric ophthalmologist later, we learned that Oliver was blind. Now, his condition is called isolated foveal hyperplasia. Basically, your retina in the back of the eye is like a target. In the middle of the target's the macula. In the middle of the macula, the bullseye is called the fovea. It's where 95% of your cones are. All of your light is focused there. Half of your brain's visual cortex is devoted to its signals. For some reason, his didn't develop. There's no known cause, nor is there a cure. And if anyone out there is working in the field, please look me up. But at the time, Oliver and my wife and I were in darkness. The only encouraging news was that at about a year, the rest of his retina developed, and he had something like 2400 vision. That's the blurry one up there, blurry chart. Basically, what a normal person can see at 400 feet, he can see at 20 feet. Here's another picture. There's a toy on the ground, there's wallpaper, there's a skateboard, there's all kinds of stuff that you just can't make out the detail at 2400, but it's just a part of your everyday life if you have typical vision. Now, this is a huge problem for infants because 90% of what they learn is by what they observe. So whether it's modeling or seeing someone use a fork, watching a sunset, reacting to a smile, none of those things could happen. In around 18 months, my greater fears were bearing out. Oliver tested in the bottom 2% for his age. Experts cautioned us to expect him to need heavy assistance his entire life. So suddenly you stop thinking, what college or preschool even your kid's going to attend, and when is he going to talk or walk? Will I be able to have a meaningful conversation with him? So, sorry. But the truth is, I write a lot about advancements in technology into my fiction. So I actually, in fact, right now work on a show about brain science, and I knew that early intervention and the brain is most malleable when in an infant, so there was hope. We enrolled him in a 5-day-a-week intensive program. We augmented it with physical therapy, occupational therapy, all kinds of treatments that if you're fully sighted, you take for granted, but he had to learn individually. And then, of course, we got him glasses because, yeah, it helps that he's cute. But on top of everything else, he was farsighted. But over time, these really started to make a difference. So rather than enroll him in a special preschool, we enrolled him in the local preschool. And the first year was very hard. Kids move fast, and they don't have a lot of patience. Identifying friends or even making them was a chore. And people didn't want to talk about his visual impairment. They thought it might stigmatize him. But our general approach was we wanted him to embrace this challenge rather than shy away from it, rather than try to hide it. We wanted him to feel comfortable using this, what we call a special tool. It's like a magnifying glass, or moving to the front to see better. And to let kids know the reason he didn't say hi was not because he was being rude, he just didn't see them. Over time, this has made an incredible impact. This year he enrolled in kindergarten completely on his own. We've taken him snowboarding He's developed an affinity for math and music and started to play piano. He's learned to look at objects up close and then form a larger mental image of the larger space. The changes have been so dramatic that I wanted to share some of the key takeaways. Now, first, it's incredibly upsetting to me and just mind-boggling how many of the experts, good experts, were completely wrong and very quick to relegate children like Oliver to this life of unsettling dependency. Of the 10 million legally blind in the United States, nearly 90% have some vision like Oliver, and yet they have a 60% unemployment rate, and that's to say nothing of their underemployment. With the right tools, motivation, and early intervention, they can chase their dreams just like anyone else. Second, when they do start to succeed, it's important to take off the training wheels, let them explore, discover, even struggle. For me, I know when I'm in a rush, it's easy to want to tie his shoes for him or build a more protective world around him because I know the challenges that he faces. And yet, it's important to find that balance of giving a child enough that they have the assistance they need, but not so much so that they don't have to feel that they have to try or that they can be reliant on others. And then third, Oliver's story is just beginning. He's 5, but it's quickly become one of my favorites to tell. Every one of us faces challenges, but they can lead to incredible gifts. And life is about embracing all that makes us who we are so that we can make the most of our time here. And that's something he reminds me of every day. Thank you.